Growing up gay in a traditional Indian family in an Islamic society in Kuwait, I experienced oppression very early on in my family and society. My sexuality, which started to emerge in my early teens, was a terrifying realization for me. I lived in mortal fear of anyone knowing my dark secret. But like a lotus that grows in the mud, the fear also bore my love for art. And it was through art that I was finally able to find my own voice. I sensed the glorious artistic potential locked away in the human body, but it was deprived to me in art and life. There were no art museums or libraries in Kuwait that carried such images. I remember a picture encyclopedia I received one birthday in which a big black marker had been used to censor the sexual organs of Michelangelo's David and any other images that involved sex or nudity. A second-hand copy of the art book by Phaidon and other such art books that I would pick up whenever I traveled abroad did contain uncensored material and provided adequate inspiration for me to start thinking about two subjects that really interested me: the self-portrait and the human figure. My studies into self-portraiture and the human figure intensified as I started to come out of the closet in America, a process that started in college at the age of 18. These are two drawings from the Queer series, self-portraits in which I grappled with myself, with who I was and what it meant to be gay. Using the technique of chiaroscuro and the expressive nature of charcoal, I projected my deep feelings of isolation from my family and society. After that series, I left figuration behind, and soon after, a few years later, I left America for Indian shores. Even though I was born in India and am of Indian origin, I had never lived in India. I was curious about reconnecting with my roots, and I also wondered about the impact it would have on my art. In India, my gaze shifted from myself to the world around me, to the world of beauty, of nature, of color. I started to paint abstractly because I felt I could express myself with complete abandon. The bold, saturated hues, the densely impastoed surfaces spoke to the depth of emotional experiences I wanted to communicate. This is a 15-foot triptych called Sublimation of Desire, in which I evoke such responses to the Indian landscape. Forbidden Pleasures, the painting you see here, is one of many abstract metascapes I made during this time, painterly landscapes suspended between mythos and reality. In this work, the lush, verdant garden is a metaphor for human sexuality. The bright, crimson fruit that peppers a landscape, crushed and bleeding, a consequence of it. Despite the feeling of abundance that these works communicate, a bitter aftertaste lingers, because I can never forget that I live in a country that condemns homosexuality, and with it, my basic rights. This year, after over a decade, I returned to the human figure in my work, which I'm showing here for the first time. This work came out of a need to understand the terrifying narratives about women, subjugated by a system in India that constantly denies them participation in the social and economic fabric of life. by a system that too frequently turns a blind eye to the violent war on gender in our country. Through my art, I want to find a way of representing women that counters mainstream representations of her as an object, a trophy, a victim. By doing so, I want to create empowered narratives in which the woman is born out of love, compassion, kindness. The title of the painting you see here, Bed of Roses, evokes a conjugal bed, strewn with roses in anticipation of the act of lovemaking. I invert the dynamic so that the woman's subject reclaims the intimate space of the bedroom for her own desires, so that she becomes a protagonist of her own love story. In my most recent painting, A Place of Her Own, I explore the woman's complete emancipation from social bondage. I appropriate the naked female form, which can speak to her vulnerabilities, but I use it to make her powerful instead. She isn't in the confines of domesticity, but outside, in the public realm. The open sky, the garden in which she rests, the endless horizon, all metaphor freedom. The kind of freedom that I have been fighting my whole life for as a gay Indian woman. The kind of freedom that should be the birthright of every single woman. Thank you.